What's your thought on staying on the edge? How do you keep
Oh, I think the edge is
management
with
on
the
the edge?
customers, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a very disruptive role, and I'm very well protected because of that. I came out of the field. My whole career in CSC was running operations, both country operations and consulting and outsourcing. And I got pulled into this corporate role, which we created, and we brought together resources and budgets and all that kind of stuff you would want to do. But the disruption is much easier when you go with the customer and get the customer excited about what you're doing. Because if you try to change it inside the organization, forget it. I mean, there's too much resistance there. So I go out, and my strategy is very, very clear. I go out and I spend as much time as I can with customers, and I spend as much time as I can with employees in the field. The consultants, the people running accounts, the people delivering projects, and I get them excited by just sharing and collaborating in this cross-fertilization effort. I do a lot of cross-pollination. And then what happens is management follows. You know, management will follow what the customer is looking for. But if you try to go in and say, hey, we need to change this and improve this, and this is killing us, and so on and so forth, we're dead. And you know, I'm with Nick. We don't need any more people looking at processes. We don't need any more people looking at the numbers. We've got plenty of those guys, right? I spend all of my time on the ideas, on the passion, on working with the customers, on getting the excitement, and that cultural value being stimulated by someone putting their career on the line and saying, this is important enough, I'm going to go out of the safe space and I'm just going to drive this thing through. It's the key. You got to have the passion, because when all the bugs hit the windshield, you know, sometimes you can't see the road, and you just have to have that faith. It really is ultimately an act of faith. Innovation is the belief that if you focus on the customer, you focus on the problem set, everything else will swarm to it.
Rajiv, you're familiar with the Indian IT situation, our Indian service industry situation. In the discussion this morning, and Jay, you might also comment, you know, our IT firms have got a very successful model right now, and people elsewhere sort of drool and say, I mean, I wish I could make those sort of growth numbers as well as the profit numbers at the same time. And generally, it's difficult to do both together, and they're doing it very well. So they could perhaps be forgiven for being nervous of trying to, you know, fiddle with a successful model. And so it's more about more efficiency within the present model and scaling up just the present model. But as we are saying, you better change your own model before it's too late. So what would the advice you would give to people in the Indian service space?
No, I definitely would say that whatever is going on for us so far is great. We are very, very proud of what we have accomplished, what we have achieved, and at least for the foreseeable future, we don't see much of issues coming our way. However, it doesn't mean that we need to be complacent. We need to start worrying and thinking about what's going to be the next phase and how that next phase of growth is going to come about, and start investing either on our own or through collaborative methods with other startups or smaller players or with universities or any of those ecosystems that is required to kind of create the next model.
Indian companies, and whether it's the IT sector or otherwise, have an opportunity to really think about things from a clean sheet of paper. We're not working on a scribble sheet of paper. And I can only recall my own experience. I landed in India 2002, and there's this telecom company, Airtel, and we were small at that point in time. We were just 3-4 million subscribers at that point in time, a few $100 million. It looked very exciting. You know, it looked, there is growth sure to happen. The market was, you know, tele density in this country was just 2 or 3 percentage points. We knew that there's a huge market out there. But if we took the approach that said, we've got the market, we've got the growth, let's just keep chugging along, we'll make the money, I think we would have probably missed the opportunity that we are sitting on right now. What we did then was, to your points on nurture and to your points on courage and conviction, is really, you know, we said, it's going to take some guts. Let's test ourselves inside here and say, what is it that we need to do to allow 1 billion people to get access to communications and information? And we said, to do that, we need to deploy a huge amount of capital. And we need the best of technologies. And we knew that we did not want to put in those core competencies within our organization. And we also wanted the appropriate fiscal model to help us. And then we said, I was the CIO coming in 2002. The first thing I told my chairman was, I want to give my IT out. I don't want to be running IT. And we said, we select the best of partners in the world. It happens to be IBM, of course. And it's been fantastic. It's been absolutely fantastic. We said, let's shave off things that we should not really own. Network. Our entire network is with Ericsson and Nokia. And we said, it's all in the utility model. Our call centers, all of our call centers are out to all of the strategic partners, and said, as a company, we focus on customer. We take the bets and we say, we're going to focus on customer. We're not going to worry about owning the assets. We're going to build a compelling partner ecosystem. And I really think Indian companies, whether it be in the IT sector or the telecommunications sector or otherwise, frankly have an opportunity at this early stage of growth to really relook at everything from a clean sheet of paper. And if the thinking that IBM is bringing on the board in terms of 21st century globally integrated enterprises, why don't we build it from scratch? It's almost like we in India, we keep banging our heads against the wall saying, we're building these new cities, these townships, but we're not building the right infrastructure. Why didn't we build it from scratch? Just like that, why can't Indian enterprises, frankly, really utilize the thinking that is already on the table and start designing and architected companies of tomorrow based on these principles today, rather than then going through a re-engineering exercise 15 years from now?
Excellent.
So I think that's terrific, Jay, and you and the company are to be complimented for the bravery and the courage. The bigger issue from my perspective is, do we have enough people that think that way?
Good point.
And back to one of my other points from my comments earlier, this is the skill that I worry about, and whether or not we're training people to actually think this way. Just to strike a tone of caution, more than anything else, I know, for instance, that China is already starting to move in this direction. I was literally in Thailand before I came here. I was in Vietnam before I came here. They're all jealous. They're all envious. They see where they are, and they're trying to figure out not how to go this way. They're trying to figure out how to go that way.
Exactly.
So, it's a race to the top.
Right.
It's not a race to the bottom.
Right.
What you found in Bharti is that the real value is in those core competencies. That's the market impact that you want to have,
Correct.
and everything else is just supporting information. The more people that think that way, the more innovative the world will become.
Right.
When you look at the same problem, you look at it in exactly the same light, and you see something entirely different.
Right.
So that's what we need to inculcate in our young. And I'm terribly interested in the fact that cultures that also have blank pieces of paper, they got nothing,
Yeah.
right? And they're starting way behind, or already starting to think
that.
we're going to build that way. We're going to make it correct by construction. We're going to educate our young people that way, and this too will come. So, we'll get there with smart people.
I think there's a very interesting thing when you talk about Indian culture, and then we talk about the cultures of outside. And you said earlier, everybody's capable of being an innovator. The one thing we say about our country, it's, to use an Indian word, jugaad. Everybody will do things their own way. It's our culture. And our problem seems to be we can't organize to make it like Singapore, to make everyone do it one way, to make it more disciplined to do that. So we may have it native in us, but we need a business model that takes advantage of it. At the moment, the business models that we're given, this is a problem for the business model. We need to get disciplined. Yeah, and we have in the IT part of it, the service excellence, the process excellence, been able to do that, but that is actually foreign to us in some ways.